I'm back at Skalkaho Bend Park. Been here several times this year. Been to other places along the Bitterroot. Coming back here because it's getting towards late summer, and I've seen it at the very beginning of spring, and in the middle of spring, late spring, during the beginning of summer, and now towards the end of summer. I guess we still have more than a month, but it feels like the end of summer here, especially where it can start snowing, at least on the hills in September, and we could have a frost on the valley in September. So coming back to see what it's like. And last time I was here, I walked by here, but this island was cut off by the other channel. So now I can walk on this island. A lot of rocks here. Water is flowing pretty calmly here. There's one thing I noticed, and hopefully it shows up in the video. You can see there's some type of algae or something growing along the side of the river there. And in general, the Bitterroot is a pretty cold river, even into late summer. So I don't know if that's like extremely rare, but it is somewhat of a surprise to me. And I don't know if those are bad as other algae blooms where it can cause problems to the environment and be toxic to people, but it does kind of take away my appreciation to see all that algae. I have to get a little bit closer, and maybe you can see them, or maybe they're too well camouflaged, but there's tadpoles that you can see they have the legs already developing. Oh, there's one moving around. You can see his little legs there. And I don't know if those are native frogs or toads of some sort, or if those are invasive like American bullfrogs. And they seem to like the shallows and the warmer waters. And I've seen other ones squiggling around, but those ones are more obvious for me to see. It's also quiet here as we get to the end of summer. And this is a Friday evening after 5. And I'm surprised I didn't see anybody on the path in, but kind of glad I didn't. Have some solitude. And I'm going to be exploring this island and then heading back to the mainland, so to speak. So you can see we have a line of willow shrubs there. And that makes me think this island is somewhat permanent, and that in a normal flood season, the water would keep out at that level. But not every flood season is a normal flood season. And now I'm walking over this channel here. This is the narrow part of the channel, and I'm going over there. So I crossed and only got my shoes a little bit wet. One thing I've been looking for is signs of life in the river, and we did see, of course, the tadpoles, and I don't know if you could see them. Just now there was a skeeter bug, a water skipper, water strider. There are some of those, what appears to be some type of fish fingerlings, very small fish. But other than that, not a lot going on in the river. And there's also not a lot of birds and not a lot of other insects. Like there's not bees or wasps flying around. So it's kind of a really calm, still day here. And I can kind of feel the energy of summer disappearing. Maybe some of that is projection, but it is pretty quiet here today. So water striders like calm, wet water. So you can see down there behind that snag, there's a lot of them in this little pooled part of the river here. So now I'm by the main channel of the river and right next to that poplar and aspen wood. Gives some nice shade, which is less important now that the days are not so blistering. You can see the river right there. So, nice place to walk along. And I did see one or two other people walking their dogs. And I'm just going to walk this way back to the parking lot of the park. There's probably a lot more to see in this forested part of the park. But I was walking by the river because it's a river. I like rivers. You might have realized that by now. As an example of it being late summer, you can see these big heracleum leaves. And I think I pointed this out one of the first times I walked through here in spring. And there you can see the tops, the flowers, and they're already seared, already dry. And that's pretty natural here, is that the summer's over and like seeds are going to seed because they have about 3 weeks to get their seed on before the frosts come. So even though there's a lot of green and stuff, like the flowering part of summer is over, unless you're tansy. Tansy doesn't count though. So we are back in the open part of the river. Parking lot is up there behind those trees. And I was just going to say on a personal note, and this also relates to the climate of Montana, is that seasons change very quickly here. And it was only 2 months ago I was like, yes, it's the beginning of summer. I made a little video about it. And I was all getting ready for summer, but by the time I'm ready, it got too hot, and now summer's ending. So it's like goes from too hot to summer's ending very quickly. And there can be a frost in the first week or two of September. So it's only 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks in the future. Don't know if that's the case, but it would not be unusual, and it could certainly get cold even if it doesn't frost. And we can see up there, that might have been an osprey. So it is kind of a disappointment, but also that's a fact of nature, and you can't see everything and do everything at once. There's an osprey, or what I assume is an osprey, and it's circling around the river. It might just be going home, or we might get to see it dive bomb into the river. That looks like we will not see that right now. But it is beautiful to watch it fly, and I'm assuming that's an osprey. Don't know what else it could be. We have a lot of nepeta there growing by the side of the river. And like I said about things going to seed, you can see all this thistle. Those bright purple blossoms are more or less gone, and you have the tufts of seeds floating off. So on a personal note, I was just thinking about this. I first moved here. I'd been here before, but I first moved here in 2009 with a friend. And that summer, me and her went all over Montana. We went from Yellowstone. We actually drove back to Oregon. We went to the ghost towns. Every day there was something new. And I was just thinking about it the other day, and counting all that time together, it was from July 20th to September 10th. It was literally, not even 2 months. But it changed my life. It was like a really energetic summer where we did lots of things. And it's just like one of those things where you have a pivotal time in your life where you feel really alive and you just have that vividness of doing new things. And all of that took place in the same amount of time that, this summer I'm like, maybe not this week. But, that's one of the things is you can't live totally on the edge. And a lot of times, people seeing videos like this might think, wow, if I was there, I would be like living it, to the fullest. And it's just like, what happens is real life happens, other things happen. But probably in the future, I'll look at this video and think, why weren't you living life to its fullest? Anyway, that being said, I hope you've enjoyed this walk, seeing some of the nature, the passage of time. I guess that's the theme. And maybe I hope my personal memories of that weren't too extraneous. Anyway, there will be more stuff. Maybe I will spend a month living life to its fullest. But for now, I'm just going to go home.